with a brand new video, and RJ is here to join me today because he's so warm and cuddly and cozy, and that's perfect because guys, I don't know what's happening with the weather because yesterday was like bright and sunny and now it's so gray and gloomy and rainy. So yeah, I don't really like that. You guys know I hate cold weather, but it's actually perfect for today because I'm here with a very cozy book video. It is the 1st of the month, the 1st of April already, so that means that it's time for my March monthly reading wrap up. I can't believe how fast time goes by. It's insane to me. So grab yourself a nice warm drink. I have lavender tea in my Paris mug. That was still pretty hot. I probably should have let it cool off a little bit, but luckily I didn't burn my tongue. Just a little bit of tears in my eyes because of the heat. But anyways, let's get into the books I read this past month. Starting off with Small Pleasures by Clare Chambers. Clare. I've never seen Clare spelled like that actually, without the I. I just noticed that. But anyways, this book, Small Pleasures, had been sitting on my shelves for quite some time now, and I didn't really pick it up despite its beautiful cover. I mean, look at these tangerines. They're so gorgeous, and they actually have a special meaning once you read the book. I love that so much when book covers are actually connected to the book and then you get to discover what they mean, and it's kind of like a secret hidden message. I don't know why, but I am a sucker for that. So then I was just going through my physical TBR one day and I saw this and I saw the cover and I just knew that I had to read it. So this book is about Jean or Jean. I don't know if you pronounce it like the French way or the British way. I'm just going with the British way because this is set in Southeast London. Do you guys also have that when you have characters and you have their names in your head and then once you say them out loud you realize that you have been mispronouncing them the whole time? I have that all the time, but it doesn't really matter. She is our main character and she's approaching 40. She's like in her late 30s. She still lives with her mom. She is a journalist, but she kind of has an uneventful life, just like a normal life. But then her life is kind of turned upside down when she is approached by a woman who claims to have had a virgin birth. So Jean, being a journalist, she wants to feature this story in her newspaper. She wants to know everything about this because of course it's like a very weird, unexpected claim. And she becomes friends with this person. Her name is Gretchen, and she kind of gets entangled in her family. There are some really unexpected relations going on there. I'm not gonna spoil too much because this is such a slow burn book, so if I explain just even like one significant detail about this, it will totally ruin the book for you if you still want to read it after what I'm about to say. So I'm not going to do that, but I am going to talk about my opinion about this. So at first, I really needed to get used to the writing style. Nowadays, I'm really used to reading American contemporary fiction, and that has its own kind of lingo. And then this book is one British, but it's also set in the 1950s, so it definitely has a different kind of language than I'm used to. So I needed to get used to that, and it was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning, I have to admit that. But then, especially also because English is not my native language, but then I slowly started to get into it and I actually really loved it because, like the title suggests, Small Pleasures, this is about the small moments in life that make life worth living, and that really appealed to me. It was also slow, so kind of mundane. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, it's just a story about real life with real life people, real life problems, and there isn't much happening, which sounds kind of boring, but to me that was the true beauty of this book. However, the ending completely ruined this for me, and I've heard from multiple people that they disliked the ending, so I went into this book already knowing that the ending was going to be quite shocking. But when I actually read it myself, I just couldn't believe it. It was so awful, and not in a way that a sad ending would be. It's just that this came completely out of nowhere. Like, there was one hint throughout this book, and then it was just like as if the last chapter was a completely different book. I don't know. It was just so weird. So ultimately, I give this book a 3 out of 5 stars, which is very low for me. You guys know I usually give very high ratings, but I don't know. I just can't get over the ending. If this book had just stopped before the last chapter, I would have loved it. I can't. You just have to read it for yourself to figure out what you guys think about it. It was a no for me. Moving on, Confess by Queen Colleen Hoover. So Colleen Hoover is one of my favorite authors of all time, which you might know. And I hadn't read this book, even though it had been on my TBR again for such a long time. But I'm currently doing a reading Steph Bohr's favorite books video. I have been doing it for way too long, like it's taking me months, but that's besides the point. I finally read Confess because it was one of Steph's favorites, and I absolutely adored this book. However, this book put me in such a reading slump. I don't know why, but it took me like 2 weeks to finish this book, and that usually doesn't happen with me. I usually finish books in like 2 or 3 days, so 2 weeks was insane. I don't know why. I really liked it, but for some reason every time a chapter finished, I just put this book down and then didn't really want to pick it up again. And now it sounds like it's really bad, but I actually loved it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So this book is about Auburn, and Auburn is at quite a low point in her life. She's really struggling, and then one day she walks across a gallery, an art gallery, and there's this help wanted sign outside on the door. And the owner of the gallery is willing to pay a lot for somebody to help him that evening. So she takes up the offer and she helps him, and of course they get into a relationship. This art gallery owner is called Owen, and he's very special because the art that he makes is based on confessions of people. There's like a special mailbox in his gallery. People leave their darkest, deepest secrets behind, and then Owen paints them according to the image that he sees in his head when he reads that confession. So he's a really interesting artist, but he also has many secrets of himself. So those secrets are obviously going to stand between Owen and Auburn and their blossoming relationship. The plot twist in this book is really, really good, and ultimately I just really, really loved it. The only downside to this was that it put me in a reading slump, and I still don't really know why. But I figured out how to get rid of my reading slump, and that was by reading 2 books at the same time. I know it may sound ridiculous, but Steph actually said in one of her videos, thank you Steph for so many good recommendations when it comes to books, that she likes to read one non-fiction book and one fiction book at the same time whenever she's feeling not really in the mood to read. And that really helped me because I started this book, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and this is a very, very famous book. I don't know why I hadn't read it sooner. It's like a classic, and this is all about how to create a better life. It's about the ego, it's about the mind, it's about how people act and why they act in different ways. It's about the pain body, it's about manifestation, it's about positivity, it's about hardship. It's just like a really beautiful kind of like self-help book, spiritual book. Yeah, it's just a really, really beautiful read. That will teach you a lot of things and that might help you in some way or another. I can definitely recommend it. I give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars as well, just like Confess, because it was really good. It's not the kind of book that you go through really quickly. In my opinion, this is a type of book that you just read a few chapters off and then you feel really motivated and enlightened, and just really, I don't know, grateful for your life, and you've learned so many things. So it's amazing to mix such a book with a fiction book, and that is what I did, and that really helped me because I'm totally out of my reading slump right now. And the book that I mixed this with, I actually read on my phone, because sometimes I just really love reading on my phone, especially at night, so I don't have to put on any lights. And the book that I read was Addicted for Now, which is the third book in the Addicted/Callaway Sister series, and I loved it so much. So in case you guys don't know, I can't imagine, because the entirety of booktube and book talk is full of Addicted/Callaway. But the Addicted series is about Lily and Lo, and Lily is a sex addict and Lo is an alcoholic, and they both really struggle with their addictions. They first started fake dating, and now they're in a real relationship in this point in the series. And I don't know why, but it is just so amazing to read about them. I normally wouldn't really gravitate towards a book with those kind of subjects like sex addict, alcoholic. That sounds so, I don't know, heavy, but it's actually really interesting to read about those kind of topics. And this whole series so far, I've read 3 books, is written in such a way that you feel such a strong connection to the characters in this story. It feels like they're your own friends, and I don't know, not many books can do that. So there's some magic, like a sprinkle of magic in this that the authors have put in, which I can't really explain, but it makes me addicted. Get the pun? I'm the worst with these kind of puns, but it really makes me addicted to these kind of books. I love it. I couldn't rave enough about it. The whole 3 books in total get a 5 out of 5 stars from me, because I just can't put them down. And yeah, it's just so good. Like, these characters come from really rich families. They get chased by the tabloids. It's like this whole famous life and all the intrigue, the gossip, the problems. It's like a reality TV series, but then in a book. It's amazing. I love it. So 5 out of 5 for that one. And then Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. Look at this cover, you guys. If that isn't the prettiest thing I've ever seen, that I don't know what is. This is so gorgeous with the gold. I'm obsessed, and I love moons, obviously my moon tattoo, so that's perfect. And this book was such a good read, surprisingly. I didn't expect it, but I love this so much. So I'm really happy that I picked this up. This is about Tate. She is the daughter of a really famous actor in Hollywood, but her family always kept that a secret because her parents are divorced, and her grandma and her mom didn't want her to be in the spotlight. So she doesn't really know her dad, and she just goes by a different name. Nobody knows who she is. And then one day her grandma takes her to London, and that's the first time that she's out of her own little bubble in her own little town where she's from, and she gets to discover a big city. And there she meets a boy named Sam. They fall in love. But then Sam betrays her in the worst possible way. And then fast forward like 10 or 15 years or so, she is a super famous actress herself, and she is on a set of a movie with her dad starring in it, which is very awkward because she didn't really have a relationship with her dad growing up. And she meets Sam again. So hence the name, Twice in a Blue Moon. Will they rekindle their relationship? Will they solve their problems? What is it like to meet her first ever love, the first boy that she had sex with, the first boy that she ever felt a real connection with? What is it like to see him again after all those years, after he completely ruined her life? That's what this book is about. It kind of gave me Malibu Rising vibes with the whole famous dad plot, which I love because, as you guys know, Malibu Rising is my favorite book in the whole entire world. So yeah, I really loved it. 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then on to the last book. This is the book that I'm currently reading. I'm also reading this for the Steph Boers favorites video, and I just started it, so I don't know what to think about it yet. but you will see that in that video. What I do know is that this is about a theme park. This guy comes from a family that owns Dreamland. It's kind of like the equivalent of Disney. And one day, Sarah, the girl in this book, writes a drunken proposal on how one of Dreamland's most famous, most expensive rides could be improved, and she actually gets a job, which is totally unexpected for her. She didn't know what she was doing with that proposal, but she's very happy with the job, except for one thing, and that is her very demanding boss, which is going to be also the love interest in this book. I'm not that far, so I don't know how to rate this yet, but next week I will have finished it, because then the Steph Bohr video will be live, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't already. And then that was it. That was my monthly reading wrap up. Please let me know what kind of books you have read this month, and I want to thank you all so much for watching. Bye bye, have a lovely day.